Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? It's Logan here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to install KivyMD, how to find the documentation for it, as well as going over prerequisites you should know for when using Kivy and KivyMD. Um, KivyMD just means Kivy Material Design. It's different in syntax than a regular Kivy, but like what we downloaded last episode. But in this case, we're going to be using this one because it's higher quality, and I want to teach y'all how to use what I think y'all would like to use more than the other, because this is what Google's standard is for creating mobile apps. I use it personally for making desktop apps. And next video, if you guys come and watch it, I'm going to be creating a sign-in application without any functionality in the first video, just showing you how to develop and how to develop the sign-in screen and the thought process that comes in with developing an app. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm gonna jump into this. The first thing we really need to do is if you guys didn't watch last episode, is you need to remember that we need to be able to get back into our virtual environment in order to install something. So first things first is we need to go to change directory. We need to go to that to the folder in our C drive we created yesterday. I know it seems tedious, but you'll get it down. But every time you open Git Bash terminal, you'll have to do this. I made a new one called YouTube for the purposes of this video because I accidentally deleted my other one and recycled it. So from here you're gonna go source. Okay, because you don't do all that extra stuff. Now you just gotta move into that directory and then do source, whatever you named your virtual environment folder, right here on the front. Scripts activate. Remember, for Linux users, you guys will use bin/activate. Okay, I don't have that. I'm gonna be using scripts, and like I said, you can press tab and it will autofill what believed should be there. I don't know if it'll work 100% of the time. Might give you something wrong eventually, but okay, here we go. I'm going to press enter, and as you can see, like last video, we now have vert above this. That means we are inside of our virtual environment. But now we need to change directory and go into that vert folder that we created, and now we can do pip freeze, and what you should see is everything we downloaded last episode. From what we're going to be seeing now is what you'll see around here in the middle is it will say KivyMD and have an address, because we're going to be it's not going to say equals version number. It's going to be an address in this case because we're downloading it from GitHub. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and jump into the documentation. So what you're going to do is you open your search browser, and we're going to go KivyMD documentation, and you're going to press enter. From the top, you should see the KivyMD read the docs.io. One thing I want to go over with y'all before I show y'all how to install it, and that's right over here on this left side. You'll see components, themes, and behaviors. So basically what this is when you're developing an app, you can actually tell it what you want different buttons to do when you press them, like the different effects. You can also change this is all the different themes from like different icons, different fonts, and different color schemes that are built into the Kivy framework. And then from here, this is all the different components that you can use, all the different widgets per se that you can use when creating a Kivy app. And there's more that aren't on here from what I see. You can actually find those in Kivy's framework. This is just what KivyMD uses. I suggest if you can find something you can use it from the KivyMD selection, because I think using it from Kivy adds a little bit of a hassle workaround. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and go to this get started. I'm going to go back to welcome. Well, I already am here, but what we're going to do is we're going to press get started. You can come down the contents and press it, or you can press it here. I'm going to press it here. And as you'll see right at the top, we're going to see we can do pip install KivyMD from here. That's the easy way. But if we want the total up-to-date version, we can do this right here. So what we can do is copy. If you don't want to do all this, you literally can just type in pip install KivyMD and it should install it for you. But we're going to do it this way just because it gives me the most up-to-date, and if there's anything new, if there's any bug fixes, I get them and I don't have to deal with them on my computer. So as you'll see, it cloned the repository from GitHub onto the computer, and you can actually see that right here visually. When I go to YouTube and Vert, you'll see KivyMD has been cloned onto the computer. But that does not mean we're done. We are not done yet. So just because the folder's there does not mean that the computer recognizes that as a library. If we do pip freeze, you'll see that KivyMD is not on here. So what we gotta do is change directory and go into that folder we just created. And now you'll see it says master. Okay, so we're going to now do pip install period. And what that means is that we're going to install everything from this GitHub clone that we just downloaded. Okay. Now, when I press enter, like I said before in the last video, if some of this isn't working for you and it's throwing errors like up here, and when I press enter here, if it gives you a problem, you can just run this as administrator, and that should fix it. If it doesn't, restart your computer, or if you don't have access to your computer, you might have to ask your administrator for access to your computer, depending on if you're at work or not. So now if I go back to the directory C YouTube Vert, if I go back to that because I don't want to be in the KivyMD folder anymore, and if I run pip freeze, you should see, now you can see KivyMD at file right here. See, this is that address that we just created, and it's basically like a little pathway that tells pip, hey, this is where that is, so that it knows that we have it installed. Okay, so the important part that comes after that is we have to be able to test this. For the purpose of this video, I'm going to create a projects folder inside of here. I think I did that last episode. I didn't create one in my new one. So I'm just going to say Kivy tutorials. And then I'm going to save as, and I'm going to put this inside of that folder I just created inside of my C drive, and I'm just going to name it test.py for short, and I'm going to test to see if it properly installed onto the unit. And the best way to do that is to do from KivyMD.app import capital MDA lowercase pp. And what we're going to do is we're going to press Control S to save. Make sure you save this after every time, or you'll get errors if you change something. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we need to go into that folder that I just created. So what we're going to do is we're going to go change directory /C YouTube, and we want to go into the other folder I just created, which is Kivy tutorials, whatever you named your project folder. If you didn't create a project folder and yours is just inside of the main folder, then you could just do this right here. You come here and then you would do the same thing as me, but for my purpose I created a subfolder, so I'm going to change into that directory, and then I'm going to do Python, and I'm going to do whatever I name this file, and I can do tab to autocomplete it. And as you can see, it did not throw an error. That means it properly installed Kivy. One thing you're going to learn about KivyMD and Kivy is that you're going to see these info blocks, and it's pretty cool because it tells you everything that's going on. Like, say you import an image into a image block later on, it will actually give you a failed image pathway error. That way you know what's going on if you put the wrong pathway. It gives you some pretty good information, so just keep an eye on it. Green means good. If there's anything red on it, I'd check it out. Just make sure that you're not doing anything wrong. Okay, so from here, I want to go over now the skill prerequisites for this next video, and for using Kivy from here on out. I'm not going to be going over any other like fundamentals of KivyMD in this episode. I'm going to be doing that next episode. But so this is what we really need to understand when it comes to KivyMD. We need to know the knowledge of basic Python, which is like if else if. Understanding the basic Python syntax, which is like indentation, all that kind of things, from like, how to properly space versus tab. Like, don't use tabs and spaces together because you can have problems with your indentations. F strings, I'm gonna go over that. I'm gonna go over that more next episode when I'm actually using them. But F strings, if you don't know what they are, I suggest do a quick Google search on it. It's just formatting for strings that you can insert different, like you can insert a variable into a print statement without having to do a workaround. You can actually just put a variable into a print statement surrounded by quotations. Okay, so you need to know how to declare and call a function. That is absolutely required. If you do not know the basics up to that point, then you need to go back and you need to learn, especially if you don't know how to create a variable. If you don't know how to do any of those types of things, the different types of variables, you need to watch a beginner's video for that. Or if you guys are struggling with it, you comment down in the comment section below, and I will create a video and I'll start from the very beginning. If you guys aren't ready for KivyMD, I will go over the basics, or I'll create another playlist and I'll do that and this at the same time. Okay, so knowledge of object-oriented programming. If that is the first time you are hearing of the word object-oriented programming, if you've never heard of a class, then you need to watch a video on object-oriented programming. There's a couple of videos, but here's the thing, is that it is advanced Python. I would not say too advanced, but more like intermediate advanced. If you do not understand most of Python, class structure will make absolutely no sense to you. If you've learned Java, C++, or languages that use class structure, I think JavaScript also uses it. I'm not totally sure on that because I haven't used JavaScript much, but yes, you need to know object-oriented programming. So that falls into knowing basic class structure, knowing what self does, or just knowing how to use self. You really don't have to know what it does, just a matter of knowing when to use it, when versus not to use it. And class methods. Class methods are literally almost the exact same thing as a function. They are just within a class. And you use them to define a class, if that makes sense. Okay, so that is going to be it for this video. I wanted to make a little bit of a shorter video this time around instead of a 23-minute long episode. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Hopefully it's not that long because that looks silly. Thank you.